Well, viewers, the Indian Overseas Congress chief, Sam Pitroda, is at it again. Batting for China, Sam Pitroda says that China is not the enemy. This curious comment comes just days after the Prime Minister's bilateral with the US President Donald Trump. He even goes on to say that it is India's approach that is confrontational and that India's attitude creates enemies.
I don't know what is the threat from China. I think there is always this thing blown out of, at times, proportion, because US has the habit of defining an enemy. I think time has come for all of us to really network nations and not have confrontation. Our attitude is that of confrontation from day one. And that attitude creates enemy, and that creates certain support in the country. I think we need to change that pattern. To assume that China is the enemy from day one, it's just not fair, not just to China, but to anybody. I don't know what is the threat from China. I think there is always this thing blown out of, at times, proportion, because US has the habit of defining an enemy. I think time has come for all of us to really network nations and not have confrontation. Our attitude is that of confrontation from day one. And that attitude creates enemy, and that creates certain support in the country. I think we need to change that pattern. To assume that China is the enemy from day one, it's just not fair, not just to China, but to anybody.
My colleague Pragya is joining us on the broadcast with the details. Pragya, high praises coming in for China. First it was Rahul Gandhi in the floor of the House. Now it is Sam Pitroda. And what's even more shocking is that he goes on to say that India's approach is confrontational and that's what creates enemies. This comes at a time when the world has acknowledged the aggressive ways of China.
Well, BJP has been highlighting this pro-China attitude of Congress for quite some time now. In fact, if you remember, there had been questions from the BJP to Gandhi family asking what were the negotiations and MOU that they signed in China with the Communist Party. And in fact, they released the pictures of Rahul Gandhi also sitting there signing it, details of which are still unknown to anyone. So BJP and the government believe that Congress has some kind of tacit understanding with Chinese, and they have been quoting a past instances also. And, the kind of aggression that we had seen in Galwan on our LAC by Chinese troops was not a mere attempt to, claim a certain portion of the land, but also to show India its place. And we had also, seen in the past that we had given a befitting reply to the Chinese troops. And this is, in fact, even after that particular Galwan clashes, Congress was questioning Indian forces and Indian government and not saying anything against the China. And in fact, putting government in the dock for Chinese aggression. Now they are saying that we should be fair to China. How ironical can that be? So BJP is also now questioning why there are so many sympathizers of China in Congress, and this is exactly what BJP continues to ask China. Having said that, there is, we do trade with China. China is a very big trading partner of India. Imports are also rising, and in fact, the government is also looking at the benefits of the traders and business communities and also Indian markets. And this is why certain there were certain rules that have been, put on Chinese products, because we also are looking at, India, made in India products. But that does not mean we are antithetical to China. We are on a confrontationalist mode. But having said that, there is a US-China trade war also going on. And in that particular context, as a background, I think this is probably why Mr. Pitroda and Congress is very wary of India's attitude towards China as well. Everyone knows our relationship with China. We have a history with China. And, the people in the government are also taking each and every step, keeping all the permutations, combinations, and all the.
And look at the timing of it as well, Pragya. This comes immediately after, just days after the meeting, the bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Modi and the US President Donald Trump, where Sam Pitroda says that it is India's stand that is confrontational. Now, this comes just days after the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, was also seen lauding China and repeating the rhetoric on China intrusion while staunchly criticizing the centre. The Congress MP, in a scathing attack on the centre, had alleged that the Prime Minister had failed in the Make in India initiative and that China had an edge over India when it came to production capabilities. Listen in to what Rahul Gandhi had said.
The fact of the matter is that wars are fought by industrial systems. The fact of the matter is that China has an industrial system that is far stronger, far bigger than our industrial system. And that is why they have the guts to come inside this country. The reason China is sitting inside this country is because Make in India has failed. The reason China is sitting inside this country is because India is refusing to produce.
So Rahul Gandhi was all praises for China, and the BJP had branded this a love that the Congress party had for China. In the latest, it's Sam Pitroda. Mohit is also on the broadcast with us. Mohit, time and again, the BJP has made this charge at the Congress party, and Sam Pitroda's latest statement has only armed the BJP all the more.
Well, yes, in fact, you see, Pratibha, the BJP has been saying this, that there is a love that prospers in the Congress party, specifically towards China. And Rahul Gandhi, in a way, BJP says, have always been pro-China. And to praise China, Rahul Gandhi, many a times, BJP has said in the past, has denigrated our country. Now, this statement coming in from Sam Pitroda, who is said to be the mentor of Rahul Gandhi, has also not gone down well with the BJP. We're right now being joined by the national spokesperson of the BJP, Ajay Alok. Sir, Sam Pitroda basically says that I don't think that there is a threat from China. It is the point of USA who has made an image of China as our enemy. And he also goes on to say our approach towards China has always been confrontational. How do you see this? First, Rahul Gandhi praised China when he was speaking in Parliament, and now we see that Sam Pitroda has said this.
What wrong Sam Pitroda has said? He is absolutely correct in his esteem. I mean, look at for the generations. Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru was so cool with China that he donated the whole of Aksai and almost 40,000 square kilometers of land. He was so friendly with China that he delivered the UN Security Council seat, compromising India's interest. And it goes on like that. It goes on like that. And then Mr. Rahul Gandhi is following the footsteps of his great-grandfather, accepting money from China. In Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, Congress party signing a documented deal with China, not disclosing what it is. Rahul Gandhi even had that noodles dinner and all, you know, with that Chinese diplomat when Galwan was going on. And he says, Chinese ne hamare sainikom ko peeta.
But Sam Pitroda also says that we need to change our mindset and stop assuming that China is our enemy. How do you see the statement coming in?
Well, they have already changed their mindset, not from now, for the last 75 years. But for us, the Indians, we know how to keep China in check and balance. We are having a good relation with every country, but that doesn't mean that every country is a friend of India.
But he talks about India's approach and confrontational. He talks about the India's approach. He says that our approach has been confrontational when it comes to China. In a way, to take side of China, do you think that he is demeaning our country?
Of course. He has been demeaning all throughout. When on the floor of the parliament he says we should learn from China, what more demeaning can it be? Rahul Gandhi and the whole Congress party is a junkie lot for China.
And Sam Pitroda is not, and he's a senior leader of the Congress party. He's somebody who's very close to Rahul Gandhi. He's the chairman of the Congress Overseas Organization. How do you see this coming from Sam Pitroda?
Why take so much longer length of the words? One word is enough for Sam Pitroda. He's mentor of Rahul Gandhi.
So clearly a strong reaction coming in, Pratibha, from Ajay Alok. He clearly says that he's the mentor of Rahul Gandhi, and whatever Rahul Gandhi says, BJP has been saying in this past too, that it is all being dictated by Sam Pitroda. Now, what Sam Pitroda has said, he has spoken about China, India's approach to China. He said that it's a confrontation approach which has not gone down well with the BJP, and BJP has been saying this in the past too, that Rahul Gandhi has a soft corner towards China, and this also shows that what kind of relation Congress party has with China. Back to studio.
So how is India's stand confrontational? Sam Pitroda putting the blame on India, saying India's stance is confrontational and that creates enemies. He says that China is not an enemy. Let's listen in to what he said that sparked off the entire controversy.
I don't know what is the threat from China. I think there is always this thing blown out of, at times, proportion, because US has the habit of defining an enemy. I think time has come for all of us to really network nations and not have confrontation. Our attitude is that of confrontation from day one. And that attitude creates enemy, and that creates certain support in the country. I think we need to change that pattern. To assume that China is the enemy from day one, it's just not fair, not just to China, but to anybody.
To assume China is an enemy is unfair, says Sam Pitroda, the mentor of Rahul Gandhi. Listen in to what the BJP has to say.
आज ये सैम पेट्रोडा के बयान से स्पष्ट हो चुका है कि राहुल गांधी चीन के एजेंट के रूप में कार्य करते हैं, चीन को बैक करने का प्रयास करते हैं. He believes more in the Chinese interest than the Indian interest. तभी हम कहते हैं कि राहुल गांधी is no longer running a political opposition. He is running an entity which wants to fight the Indian state. उनका रिमोट कंट्रोल जॉर्ज सोरोस और चीन के हाथ में है.
Big charge by the BJP saying the remote control of the Congress party is with George Soros and China. And it's clear with the words of Sam Pitroda that a pro-China stance of the Congress party is coming from here. Sam Pitroda going on to say that China is not the enemy and that any threat from China is exaggerated. He went on to say that China is not an enemy. This comment comes just days after the Prime Minister's bilateral with the US President Donald Trump. So look at the timing of this comment as well. Just days after Prime Minister Modi met Donald Trump, Sam Pitroda going on to say, what is the threat from China? I don't understand it. It's exaggerated. He goes on to say that it is India's approach that is confrontational and that it is India's attitude that creates these enemies. So his advice being, don't create enemies. No such advice being doled out to China. Sam Pitroda saying that India's approach is confrontational and it must not be the case.
I don't know what is the threat from China. I think there is always this thing blown out of, at times, proportion, because US has the habit of defining an enemy. I think time has come for all of us to really network nations and not have confrontation. Our attitude is that of confrontation from day one. And that attitude creates enemy, and that creates certain support in the country. I think we need to change that pattern. To assume that China is the enemy from day one, it's just not fair, not just to China, but to anybody.